So let's start off with that. I mean, I got a lot of things I want to go through with you, but I want to start off with that. To the average person, when I ask them, have you heard of the Invention Secrecy Act? When I tell you 99% say, I've never heard of it, I'm being friendly. Right. Because 100% people are like, what is the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951? Can you tell the audience what is the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951, who was behind it, and why?
Well, it actually became an offshoot of the projects from the 40s dealing with energy and technology and propulsion systems that, if they were disclosed, would be the immediate replacement of oil, gas, coal, surface transportation, public utilities. Well, in today's dollars, you're talking probably over $1,000 trillion. So what most people don't realize is that around between 1945 and 1954 was the heyday of electromagnetic engineering dealing with energy and propulsion. And it was from two sources. Research that had been done in the late 1800s and early 20th century, and even things that people call anti-gravity, not the correct scientific term, but let's just go with that. It's really gravity control. Those experiments started in the late 20s with T. Townsend Brown and the Kolosky-Frost experiment in Germany, and where very high voltage systems would cause objects to lift and basically have mass cancellation and look like they're defying gravity and levitate.
This is the G engines you're talking about.
Yep. And but that was earlier. I mean, that was later. This was 20s. But those began to be more and more classified. So T. Townsend Brown's work became some of the core founding for what's called the RAND Corporation in Ventura, California. But those got populated with research from retrieving extraterrestrial vehicles in the mid-40s and 50s, where they began to study them under a very highly classified project. I have the documents. We've just released all of them to the public last month in our Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive. But it describes, in one of the Canadian top-secret documents, that a top-secret team was working on this in 1950, and the work they were doing surpassed the secrecy of the development of the hydrogen bomb, the ultimate doomsday weapon, if you can imagine. Now, this is an authenticated top-secret document. So the punchline on that is there was this technological breakthroughs, both human and in studying objects from outer space, let's say, that came together, the two mighty rivers that became this torrent, but very classified. So they realized that there were too many people stumbling across this, and they created this act to give the government the power that even if you don't apply for a patent, if they learn you have something that they want to seize, all they have to do is issue a national security order on it, and they take it. And this is not a conspiracy theory and all that. It's just a fact. You can look up people can look this up. And I've worked over the years with many, many people who've had that happen to them, geniuses that have had their work confiscated. And it would be an enormous benefit to humanity. But the super elite, global elite, don't want that out. They didn't want it out in the 50s, and they don't want it out now. So that is the core of the secrecy behind what people call UFOs or UAPs. That's really the heart of it. The other thing is that when I go into a SCIF, a secure compartment information facility where top secret information is exchanged, one of the first things I do, whether it's with the members of Congress or some military people, is to tell them, see this video that the Pentagon has confirmed is real of this UFO flying off the coast of California, and they got released a few years ago. And I said, just look at that. Forget all the esoteric and alien cachet and baggage. That is an alternative energy and propulsion device, period. And I said, if you look at how it's moving and the sensors that they put on that thing, both from space and the ship, the big battleship out there, and the jet pilots flying those F-18s, they had no heat signature. And Pat, here's the thing. There's no jets, there's no rockets, and if it was a nuclear power plant, it would be very hot because fission is extremely hot. So how is it doing? How is it moving like that? Well, it's using this whole new physics. And this is why most of our Air Force and other pilots, when they encounter these, they immediately assume all of them are alien. or extraterrestrial, when in reality, I'd say 70, 80% of them are ours. Highly classified, illegally run covert programs without the oversight of the Congress and the president. So that secrecy has become so embedded. You know, Eisenhower had a pretty good clue about it when he left office, and he said, beware the military-industrial complex. And I remind people, he was a 5-star general, right, and a conservative Republican, moderate Republican back then. But he was no enemy of the military. But he warned the dangers to democracy and secrecy because of this. Now, he didn't mention the UFO issue, but he was very much read in, and I can prove that. Our archive goes through that. And he then, by 1957 to 8, was being pushed aside out of those programs. And we actually have an attorney who at the time was a young man in the Army. His testimony we released in this archive, where he says he was at the White House Signal Corps in 1959, 60, before Eisenhower left. And Eisenhower told him that he was being blocked control over these projects. So these covert programs have been, let's just say, off the leash for most of, the last 60 years.
So I want to ask you this. So I'm going through timeline while you're talking, and I'm taking notes here,
Sure.
So Hiroshima happened August 6, 1945.
Right.
Okay. Nagasaki happened August 9th, 1945. Okay. Invention Secrecy Act happened in 1951, which ended up being a law 1952, led by Senator John Sparksman. Great. And that year, he ends up being nominated as the vice president for the Democratic, nominee. Okay. Then the election that year, that the day we voted on Tuesday, was November 4th of 1952. 3 days prior to that, on November 1st of 1952, is the big explosion that we had, the thermonuclear explosion that took place. Rob, if you can pull this up, type in hydrogen bomb year. Just type in hydrogen bomb year, okay? So if you type in hydrogen, can you zoom in that? I just want to read that right there. The U.S. tested the first full-scale thermonuclear device on November 1st of 1952. The result was an explosion that was equivalent to one produced by more than 10 million tons of TNT. This was approximately 700 times the power of the uranium bomb dropped in Hiroshima. Stephen, 700. So here's what I'm trying to find out. The time span from August 6th, Hiroshima, August 9th, Nagasaki, Invention Secrecy Act of 1951, 52 becomes in, then November 1st, we have the hydrogen bomb. November 4th is the election.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.